Trump in Saudi Arabia's speech to urge Iran toward a new and better path as he pushes for new nuclear deal. Let me pull that up. Hold on. Trump, Saudi Arabia. We should see a speech, shouldn't we? Speech. An hour, 38 minutes. I doubt the whole thing is Trump. Then again, he is a lot more spry than Biden.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. What a great place. What a great place, but more importantly, what great people. I want to thank His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince, for that incredible introduction. He's an incredible man. Known him a long time now. There's nobody like him. Thank you very much. Appreciate it very much, my friend. And it's a tremendous honor to return to this beautiful kingdom and be welcomed back with such extraordinary generosity and warmth. I've never forgotten the exceptional hospitality showed to us by King Solomon, who's just, we talk about a great man. That is a great man. That is a great man, a great family. And that visit took place exactly 8 years ago. The graciousness of the royal family and the Saudi people is really...
Wow, sorry, I'm looking at a link on my other monitor. The White House announced today what it called the largest defense sales agreement in history, a series of deals with Saudi Arabia for state-of-the-art warfighting equipment and training worth a total of nearly $142 billion. I think Israel might actually be done. Genuinely. If we're giving Saudi Arabia a bigger arms package than any individual one we ever gave Israel, that's insane. I mean, obviously the MIC loves this, but like Israel, it might have actually overstepped. Like they might have gotten too toxic for their own good. Womp womp.
Unsurpassed, no matter where you go. Let me also thank the countless ministers, government officials, business leaders, and distinguished guests for that warm welcome. Very warm, and I know so many of you. I'd like to call out all of your names, but we have a lot of problems. We'd be here for a long time.
And what does anyone think they're going to do with those new toys? Fire them in the air at their weddings, I assume, based on what I've seen on social media. I don't know. I mean, the only, like, military engagement that Saudi Arabia has really been committed to recently is Yemen, but they've been pulling back from Yemen, largely because nothing they do seems to reduce the number of Houthis. It's been causing them trouble. They're just looking to sell it, right? Saudi Arabia has an ungodly amount of money because they don't spend it on shit, and they make a lot of it selling oil. And we have weapons, and we want to sell them, and we want money. It's all petrodollar stuff anyway. I mean, we're basically just exchanging our excess production, you know?
I don't want that, so don't be upset. With this historic state visit, we celebrate more than 80 years of close partnership between the United States and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Ever since President Franklin Roosevelt met with King Solomon's father, King Abdul Aziz, aboard the USS Quincy in 1945, the U.S.-Saudi relationship has been a bedrock of security and prosperity. Today, we reaffirm this important bond, and we take the next steps to make our relationship closer, stronger, and more powerful than ever before. It is more powerful than ever before. And by the way, it will remain that way. We don't go in and out like other people. It will remain that way. I've come this afternoon to talk about the bright future of the Middle East, but first let me begin by sharing the abundance of good news from a place called America. In less than 4 months, our new administration has achieved more than most other administrations accomplish in 4 years or even 8 years. We've actually done, for the most part, more. The day I took office, we inherited, thank you. Thank you. The day I took office, we inherited a colossal invasion on our southern border, an invasion like you'd never want to see here. Nobody should ever want to see it. But within weeks, we slashed illegal border crossings to an all-time low, down 99.999%. That's good. even for this great gentleman standing right in front of me. That's a good number. We had hundreds of thousands of people. They came in at the same time last year, and last month we had, in this massive border.
This is a big blow for the energy independence crowd, IMO. No one actually ever believed in that, the energy independence thing. Energy independence loses us money. Yeah, I don't know, man. That, like, it's just, if you ever want to match this kind of power, as a Democrat, a leftist, whatever, this is the shit president should be doing. It is. Do big foreign tours. Do shit that'll get written into the history books, like Nixon going to China, you know? You're not like a tweely little diplomat. You're not like a middle manager. You're not like a fucking technocratic advisor. You're not a consultant. You're a fucking celebrity. You are. That's what being the president is. You're the head of state. You won a popular election. Your power is built on your popularity. Offer deals to countries in exchange for doing gigantic speeches where they roll out the carpet for you and you declare, you know, your ideological priorities or whatever, or your deep, enduring, like, don't just follow the trends set by previous presidents. Make new ones. Make new trends. Set things in stone so people who come after you will themselves be terrified to undo what you've done. Biden literally did, though, and nobody cared. Biden admin approves potential multi-billion-dollar arms sale to Saudi Arabia and UAE. You're not listening. Do you understand the difference between the link that you gave me and what we're looking at right now? Biden did a dickless little meeting with a regional governor and then approved billions of dollars in arms sales to Saudi Arabia. For what? Why? What? For what reason? No one cares. No one knows. It's meaningless. It's lost to history. Trump is getting a massive purple carpet rolled out for him for a gigantic 4-day Middle Eastern tour where he fundamentally rewrites our relationship to the entire subcontinent. He's tearing things up, man. He's doing it off the cuff. Netanyahu's sweating in his office. It's not just about doing things. It's about doing things with pizzazz, acting with the power that you know you have.
3 people that got in.
Obama was like this? Not really, no. Obama was popular, but he didn't fundamentally rewrite much of anything, to be honest with you. That was the whole problem. You're just thinking he was charismatic, which he is and was. But that's not the same. You have to make everything an event, a proper event. The Iran deal was kind of a thing. Yes, in his 8 years, he got the Iran deal. It was great. He got the Iran deal. That's great. And then it got undone. He did rewrite things with Iran, opened up Cuba. Do you guys not understand the difference in scale of what I'm talking about here? It's not just about the deal.
Quite a difference. And we have no choice but to get a lot of the people that came in because they were not the best people. They were, in many cases, very bad people. We're getting them out. We're getting them out very fast. We're bringing them back to where they came from. We have no choice. After years of military recruiting shortfalls, enlistments in the U.S. Armed Forces are now the highest in 30 years because there is such an incredible spirit in the United States of America. We have to
do this. Go to foreign countries and do speeches about the evils of Republicans. You can do it, you pussy. You piece of shit. If you're a Democrat, if you're a left-leaning individual, you were elected to push back against that. Why the f aren't you making that a central tenet of your platform? Why is dickless centrism the only thing you can talk about? Over and over and over and over again.
Tremendous spirit again. Just about a year ago, it was a big story, front page on every paper all over the world, that nobody wanted to enlist in our military, meaning we were way under enlisted. And just last week it came out that we had the strongest enlistment. They say 30 years, but probably it's maybe ever. They don't go back that far. It's the best, and that includes police officers, firemen, everything else. Is a great spirit in the United States right now. A brand new poll from Rasmussen just showed that the number of Americans who believe the nation is on the right track, they have a right track, wrong track, is now the highest in over 20 years. And it hasn't been anything like this because for many years it was the wrong track. And I can tell you for the last 4 years it was definitely the wrong track, but it's the highest it's been in many,
this
many years.
This is really captivating stuff.
We named the Gulf of Mexico into the Gulf of America. That was very popular, other than perhaps with Mexico. And most importantly, for the people in this room, the days of economic misery under the last administration are rapidly giving way to the greatest economy in the history of the world. We are rocking. The United States is the hottest country, with the exception of your country, I have to say, right? I'm not going to take that on. No, Mohammed, I'm not going to take that on. Wouldn't that be a terrible thing if I made that full statement? But I will not do it. You're hotter. At least as long as I'm up here, you're hotter. But groceries, gasoline, energy, and all other prices are down with no inflation. We have no inflation, and in a few short weeks, we've created 464,000 brand new jobs. Think of that. It's almost 500,000 jobs created just in a matter of weeks. We just reached a historic...
Is he sick? He's like 80 years old. Also, it's probably pretty warm over there. He's been talking about that.
Trade agreement with the United Kingdom, and over the weekend we reached a breakthrough agreement with China. Both outstanding deals. China's agreed. We have to get it down. We have to get the little details down. And Scott, you're going to work on that very hard, but China's agreed to open up to the United States for trade and everything else. But they have to do it, so we'll see what happens. But we had a very, very good meeting with both of those countries. We are cutting 10 old regulations for every new regulation. We're getting rid of all of the red tape that is so many, frankly, countries, as they get older, they develop a lot of red tape, and we're getting rid of it. We're getting rid of it at record levels. And I'm pleased to report that the United States Congress is on the verge of passing the largest tax cut and regulation
we got to talk about that
in American history. We think we're in good shape to get that. And if we get that, that will be like a rocket ship for our country. In the first quarter of the year, the investment in America was up an astounding 22%. More than $10 trillion of new investments have been announced or are coming just since the election.
Dumb question. What does he mean by red tape? Red tape is a euphemism referring to like regulation, essentially.
November 5th. So think of that. In a very short period of time, we have over $10 trillion, and it could be much higher than that. Not everybody comes to the White House to have a news conference that they're going to be opening up in America, but they're all coming in at numbers that we've never seen before. If you take a look at other presidencies, they wouldn't do $1 trillion sometime in years. We did this in essentially 2 months because you have to say we got
Isn't Saudi Arabia in a bad place because of the oil stuff? Saudi Arabia has an enormous fund. Like the whole country essentially is an oil company. If they overproduce at cost, they just store more, you know? Their goal right now is to overproduce and sell at a loss in order to undercut the rest of the world, because it's cheaper for them to produce oil than it is for a bunch of other countries. So as a consequence of that, if they undercut other companies, the other companies have to shut down, lower production, close their wells, or otherwise damage their enterprise. Saudi Arabia gets to keep on chugging. They can float that cost.
Into office, and they gave me about a month to clean up and fix up the Oval Office, and after that we started working, and the money is pouring in, the jobs are pouring in, the companies are pouring into our country like we've never seen before. There's never been anything like it, and we let other people tariff us into losing a lot of money and a lot of jobs, and now we're tariffing them, and it's at a level that
it's going great.
Nobody's seen. It's a level that is making us a very much different country and a very different Republican Party. We won a tremendous victory in November. We won all 7 swing states, the popular vote by millions and millions of votes. The Electoral College, we won by 312 to 226. Remember, they said, well, we could get to 270. No, we got to 312. That's a big difference. And very importantly, we won counties throughout the United States, 2,660.
Bro, nobody cares. I mean, it doesn't matter, right? This is a business deal, and as a condition of the business deal, they have to pretend to be interested in what he's saying. So, you know, it's not... That's how it is.
To 451. That's why when you look at a map, they're all red. The whole country is red. Red stands for Republican. From the moment on and from the moment we started, we've seen wealth that just poured and is pouring back into
campaigning in Saudi Arabia. If this is another lesson that needs to be learned. You should always be campaigning. ABC. Genuinely. Like, if you're a president, your job isn't just to do things, it's to make the things you're doing popular. You have to be campaigning. Always be campaigning. Every speech, every visit, every interaction with the press, everything. You're always campaigning for your current administration or for your future one.
America. Apple is investing $500 billion. NVIDIA is investing, and I see my friend is here, Jensen. That's very good, wherever you may be. Thank you very much, because he's putting in $500 billion. TSMC is investing. Where is Jensen, by the way? Where is he? He's standing here. Where is he? I just saw that. Thank you very much, Jensen. I mean, Tim Cook isn't here, but you are. What a job you've done. He said he's got 99% of the chip market. I don't know. That's not easy to beat. But what a job you've done.
The oligarchs are here.
We are proud to have you in our country. You know that. Thank you for the investment. TSMC is investing $200 billion, and with this trip, we're adding over $1 trillion more in terms of investment into our country and buying our products. And you know, nobody makes military equipment like us. We have the best military equipment, the best missiles, the best rockets, the best everything. Best submarines, by the way. Most lethal weapon in the world. In addition to purchases of $142 billion of American-made military equipment by our great Saudi partners, the largest ever. This week there are multi-billion-dollar commercial deals with Amazon, Oracle, AMD, they're all here, Uber, Qualcomm, Johnson & Johnson, and many, many more. So I want to congratulate everybody, so many great business executives, many of you, most of you I know, and they're coming in, you know, about a month ago. They weren't that happy when they saw me, and now they're saying, sir, you're doing a great job. Thank you very much. It's amazing what a rising market will do. Oh, it's going to get a lot higher. In fact, I told people 5 weeks ago, this is a great time to buy. I got criticized for that. Now they don't criticize me anymore. People should have listened. But it's going to go a lot higher. You see, we've never had anything like this happen. It's an explosion of investment and jobs, and great companies are coming in. Never seen anything like it.
He really is a generational talent, isn't he? It's remarkable. His brain is soup, but all of his instincts make him a phenomenal politician. Like, with no higher cognitive abilities, he's still capable of just accidentally drifting into, like, just sort of meandering mentally through the weave, and he just hits on the exact behaviors to be the best possible politician for Republicans. Nobody else could do it like him. Nobody else in that party. Not Elon, not Miller, not DeSantis, none of them. It really is incredible. They lucked out with him. They really did.
No better place to make a future or make a fortune, or do anything, frankly, than what we have in the United States of America under a certain president, Donald J. Trump. I have the right attitude. I have the same attitude that the people in the front row, second row, third row have. As you get back, perhaps they start to wane a little bit in terms of their view. But they understand, and we're doing what a lot of smart people would do, and we're not necessarily being politically correct. You saw what we did yesterday with health care. We've cut our health care by 50 to 90%. You're going to see drugs and pharmaceuticals come down at numbers that nobody has ever seen. And drugs, pharmaceuticals, we think will be dropping. And it'll be a redistribution of costs with other nations, which really took advantage of a very nice group of people that ran our country. But not only is this a time of incredible excitement in the United States, it's also an exhilarating period right here in the Arabian Peninsula. Beautiful place, by the way. Beautiful place. Exactly Thank you.
What the f is that clapping from
Exactly
Elon?
8 years ago this month, I stood in this very room and looked forward to a future in which the nations of this region would drive the forces of terrorism and extremism, drive them right out of existence, and take your place among the proudest, most prosperous, most successful nations anywhere in the world as leaders of a modern and rising Middle East. So exciting, so exciting.
What does any of this have to do with the Middle East? It doesn't have to have anything to do with the Middle East. He's the president of the United States. He's the one with power. He can do whatever he wants. He can say whatever he wants. That's the point. That's the power that the American president has. We're not like other countries. Saudi Arabia will do or tolerate anything that Trump wants because he knows, or they know he represents an enormous amount of money for their country. He has the power to give them. He's the deal maker. Right? It's an alignment of interest. He's campaigning right now.
Mohammed, you sleep at night? How do you sleep? Huh? Just thinking. What a job. He tosses and turns like some of us. Tosses and turns all night. How do I make it even better all night? It's the ones that don't toss and turn.
This is the Biden version of this same speech. Oh, right. So this is when Biden went over to Saudi Arabia, was met by a provincial governor, greeted by a provincial governor at the beginning.
His strategy for the Middle East.
Been making clear that they're going to be focused.
And as a neighboring country with whom we share religious and cultural ties, to cooperate with the countries of the region.
With the likes of Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, Iraq, and so on and so forth. And against Israel in order to pressure it to bring a solution to Palestine, if anything.
Slightly different setting. I mean, obviously the hosts are talking over, but...
As the world grows more competitive and the challenges we face more complex,
even the microphone is
it's
shit.
only becoming clear to me that how closely interwoven America's interests are with the successes of the Middle East. We will not walk away and leave a vacuum to be filled by China, Russia, or Iran. We'll seek to build on this moment with active, principled American leadership.
See? You see? You see, right? You see? Okay. You see. You understand.
The ones that will never take you to the promised land, won't they? But you have done some job. True. But critics doubted that it was possible what you've done. But over the past 8 years, Saudi Arabia has proved the critics totally wrong. The transformation that has occurred even by these
actual substance, but boring as I would contest that. Biden's speech here didn't really have any substance at all. It was just a reaffirmation of pre-existing U.S. policy in the region. You could have like extrapolated it from statements that he'd made prior. There wasn't really anything new or interesting there. So like I don't think, like, obviously it's not the same kind of brain rot bullshit that Trump says, but it's also not like, it's just status quo shit, right? It doesn't, there's no like strong-armed American, you know, like foreign policy push or anything. There's no effort to change the world and reshape it. Yeah, you get me.
incredible business leaders. I mean, you had the biggest leaders in business anywhere in the world standing right before us. But the transformation that has occurred under the leadership of King Salman and Crown Prince Mohammed has been truly extraordinary. Such a thing has, I don't think, ever happened before. I've never seen anything at that scale happen before. And I guess, you know, maybe you could say the United States is doing pretty well too, you know, but I don't think too many people have seen that happen before. Majestic skyscrapers, the towers that I see, the difference between now and 8 years ago. And 8 years ago was very impressive, but the towers that I see rising, some of the exhibits that I was shown by Mohammed, if what I've seen there is just an amazing, it's an amazing process, amazing genius of so many people, architecture, but I have a feeling I know where many of those ideas came from. Happens to be sitting right in this room right before me, but the towers and all of the different, I've seen a lot of different towers. I didn't think there's any version of a tower that I haven't seen in one form or another. Well, I just passed 4 exhibits. I have never seen anything like any of them. So it's going to be very exciting.
Spending a lot of time talking about powers in front of the
sit
House of Saud.
among the ancient wonders of a growing and exciting city. It's really amazing. Riyadh is becoming not just a seat of government, but a major business, cultural, and high-tech capital of the entire world. The World Cup is here. Johnny, just stand up, Johnny. Johnny, thank you, Johnny. Great job, Johnny, great job. But the World Cup and the World Expo will soon be coming here, just like the World Cup is coming to the United States. It's going to be really exciting next year. The engines of Formula One racing now roar through the streets of Jeddah in a historic milestone. Other industries recently surpassed oil. Think of it. All of your other industries now have surpassed oil. I don't know if a lot of people will understand what that means. It's so big to make up a majority of the Saudi economy for the very first time ever. So think of that. Other industries are now bigger even than oil, which is always going to be a big monster. It's
you know, this actually relates a lot to something that I just saw on my second monitor because I was scrolling Twitter, because this is brain melt content, the lefty Twitter account. Prior to heading to the Middle East, Trump's Mar-a-Lago home threw an Arabian Nights theme party. That's great. It's very weird to me that people see the president living like this and aren't filled with anger. And I think it's like, is that weird? I feel like a lot of people find it charming to see wealthy, powerful, famous people living like wealthy, powerful, famous people. Look at all of celebritydom. And no one fucking cares. It's not seen by a lot of people as like, you know, naked grifting or like opulence in a negative way or whatever. It's seen as like an honest reflection of what the power of the office holds, which in fairness, that is kind of what people voted for, right? I think there's a sort of like inauthenticity that people ascribe to like Democrat politicians, or I guess like most politicians besides Trump, which is that, and let's be real here, okay? All of them are having crazy fucking parties. Like, don't kid yourself, okay? I don't know if Schumer's too old for them or whatever, but like, if you're a wealthy DC insider, highly connected politician, are you kidding me? They all, at least back in the 90s or whatever, they knew Epstein, but like even besides that, they all have their crazy parties, their fucking cocaine, whatever. And I'm not just calling them all pedophiles or whatever. I'm just saying like they live like powerful, wealthy people, right? Trump just does that publicly. The rest of them hide it. Cawthorn died for this. That's true. They didn't like that he pointed that out. Yeah, but they deny Trump is like that. Well, no, they don't deny that Trump's a party president. They know that he is. They just deny the Epstein stuff because they're delusional or obviously lying, right? But I guess like I don't know. Okay, imagine if you had like a populist lefty president who was doing a bunch of shit very, very quickly. Would you give a shit if they were known for having like soirees? Did anyone care when JFK did it? Like, does anyone now go, like today, they're like, oh, you know, JFK, it was disgusting how many women he slept with or whatever, even though in the context of his relationship, like it was, right? Like he was not great to women. But like in terms of him being a party animal, I don't think anyone fucking cares. I think we're expressing disdain for the wrong things, basically, because a lot of people look at displays of opulence, power, and charisma, and they think it's unbefitting a president. But that's all people ever wanted, man.
Big one, but that's a great tribute to you and economic development properly used. In other cities throughout the peninsula, places like Dubai and Abu Dhabi, and Doha, Muscat, the transformations have been unbelievably remarkable. Before our eyes, a new generation of leaders is transcending the ancient conflicts of tired divisions of the past and forging a future where the Middle East is defined by commerce, not chaos, where it exports technology.
That's all the lowest common denominator ever wanted. Like, you're any fucking different. You hear stories about how Castro slept with a CIA assassin sent to kill him, and you're like, wow, based. You hear about Lyndon Baines Johnson having a big dick and bragging about it to his cohorts, and you're like, wow, based. I don't think people actually care about people in power acting opulently. I don't think people care about them being party animals or wild. You just want them to do the things you want them to do. It's not corruption to be a party animal, right? Mar-a-Lago, I mean, obviously it's steeped in corruption, even had lawsuits about the valuation of the price of the property. But I don't know. It's just like people see this as a strength because it's authentic. And in fairness, Trump's a very authentic politician in terms of like, does he act the way his brain actually is? Yes. Yes, he does. He no longer has the faculties to pretend otherwise.
Technology, not terrorism, and where people of different nations, religions, and creeds are building cities together, not bombing each other out of existence. We don't want that. And it's crucial for the wider world to note this great transformation has not come from Western interventionists or flying people in beautiful planes giving you lectures on how to live and how to govern your own affairs. No, the gleaming marvels of Riyadh and Abu Dhabi were not created by the so-called nation builders, neocons, or liberal nonprofits like those who spent trillions and trillions of dollars failing to develop Kabul, Baghdad, so many other cities. Instead, the birth of a modern Middle East has been brought by the people of the region themselves, the people that are right.
He's actually largely correct here in what he's sort of gesturing at saying.
Here, the people that have lived here all their lives, developing your own sovereign countries, pursuing your own unique visions and charting your own
it's MAGA Maoism again.
Your own way. It's really incredible what you've done. In the end, the so-called nation builders wrecked far more nations than they built, and the interventionists were intervening in complex societies that they did not even understand themselves. They told you how to do it, but they had no idea how to do it.
It's like this is a transformational statement that, frankly, I don't think other presidents could have made. And I don't think Trump's making it because he's like super woke or whatever. I think he's making it because he just doesn't have the predilection towards do-nothingism, right? But the idea of no amount of NGO intervention, military intervention or whatever has built the Middle East. The Middle East, it has always been built by people in the Middle East. It's just straightforwardly true. You know, that's just I mean, the only exception to it, I guess, is the fact that Israel is a settler colonial project, but Israel is not happy that Trump is giving this speech. So that's not really the implication here. He's giving the speech to Saudis. And it's true. That is a correct statement, you know?
Themselves. Peace, prosperity, and progress ultimately came not from a radical rejection of your heritage, but rather from embracing your national traditions and embracing that same heritage that you love.
MAGA Maoism,
so
dude.
dearly.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
And it's something only you could do. You achieved a modern miracle, the Arabian way. That's a good way. Today, the Gulf nation.
The Middle East was burning camel shit for fuel and diving pearls before the West started pumping oil there, Vosh. What the fuck? You must be confused. This is a lefty stream, not a neo-Nazi stream. You got your wires switched. How the fuck do you have a T3 sub? What the hell?
Have shown this entire region a path towards safe and orderly societies with improving quality of life, flourishing economic growth, expanding personal freedoms, and increasing responsibilities on the world stage. After so many decades of conflict, finally it is within our grasp to reach the future that generations before us could only dream about, a land of peace, safety, harmony, opportunity, innovation, and achievement right here in the Middle East. So beautiful. It's such a beautiful thing that's happening. I guess, you know, the people that are here can't even really appreciate it because you see it happening, and it's when you come to a place.
Wait, West didn't give them oil tech? You don't give races of people tech. What do you mean? This is the same argument as like all of the Americas, Africa what is the implication of your statement? X civilization developed technology first, therefore the other is inferior? I don't understand what the implication of this statement is. The Islamic golden age was churning out innovation after innovation while Europeans lived in cow shit for centuries. I don't understand. Like you have like an edge here sometimes, an edge there sometimes. If the Islamic world wanted to, you know, build a joint invasion of Europe at that time, they would have been like the Roman Empire. They would have been the fucking kings that straddled the world. That's how it is. Sometimes this part of the world's doing better, sometimes that part of the world's doing better. We say the West is like the peak of civilization. Sure, if you look at the past 200 years, look at China. How many hundreds of years of global civilization has China been like the undisputedly most developed, most cohesive, most capable of like being considered the capital of the planet civilization? Or we only start the clock at 1823? So all the previous points didn't count. Ridiculous. Yeah, we started drilling for oil in the Saudi peninsula, and then the Saudis nationalized the company and bribed the West into not invading to reclaim the property that they'd taken. And from that, Saudi Aramco ended up essentially becoming the focus point around which a nation was born. A nation which is still to this day basically an oil company with a fiefdom attached, but you know.
That you haven't seen in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, that it's even more incredible. When I left office just over 4 years ago, that future seemed almost impossible, what you've done. Together we had obliterated the killers of ISIS. We wiped them out, terminated its founder and leader, al-Baghdadi. We had healed the divide in the Gulf Cooperation Council. It's a very big deal. And united the nations of the region to stand against the enemies of all civilization. We'd imposed unprecedented sanctions on Iran and starved the regime of resources to fund terror. They were unable to fund anything because they had no money left. They had no money. But the new administration came in and let them have a lot of money, and you saw what happened. It was not money well spent. And with the historic Abraham Accords that we're so proud of, all the momentum was aimed at peace, and it aimed very successfully. It's been an amazing thing, the Abraham Accords, and it's my fervent hope, wish, and even my dream that Saudi Arabia, a place I have such respect for, especially over the last fairly short period of time, what you've been able to do.
How long is this guy going to talk? I know we got used to presidential speeches lasting 8 minutes under Biden, but they can sometimes go longer.
But we'll soon be joining the Abraham Accords. I think it'll be a tremendous tribute to your country, and it will be something that's really going to be very important for the future of the Middle East. I took a risk in doing them, and they've been an absolute bonanza for the countries that have joined. The Biden administration did nothing for 4 years. We would have had it filled out. But it will be a special day in the Middle East with the whole world watching when Saudi Arabia joins us, and you'll be greatly honoring me, and you'll be greatly honoring all of those people that have fought so hard for the Middle East, and I really think it's going to be something special, but you'll do it in your own time, and that's what I want, and that's what you want, and that's the way it's going to be. When I left office, the only thing still standing between this region and its unbelievable potential was a small group of rogue actors and violent thugs seeking constantly to drag the Middle East backward and into havoc, mayhem, and indeed into war. Unfortunately, instead of confronting these destructive forces, the last U.S. administration chose to enrich them and empower them and give them billions and billions of dollars. The Biden administration, the worst administration in the history of our country, by the way, spurned our most trusted and longstanding Gulf partners, and I can say partners worldwide. One of our great, great partners, no matter who we look to, and we have great partners in the world, but we have none stronger and nobody like the gentleman that's right before me. He's your greatest representative, greatest representative.
He's talking about Iran, guys.
And if I didn't like him, I'd get out of here so fast. You know that, don't you? He knows me well. I do. I like him a lot. I like him too much. That's why we give so much, you know? Too much. I like you too much.
Weird.
Great guy. They lifted sanctions on Iran in exchange for getting nothing, and sent the regime tens of billions of dollars to fund terror and death all over the world. And they laughed at him. They laughed at our leader. And they're still laughing at our leader. They thought him a fool. And they made nothing but trouble ever since, including the funding of October 7th, one of the worst days ever in the history of the Middle East. Horrible day. Biden removed the Houthis from the list of foreign terrorist organizations, even while missiles and drones were being launched right here at your beautiful city of Riyadh, and launched at ships if they happened to be sailing in the wrong location. The Biden administration's extreme weakness and gross incompetence derailed progress toward peace, destabilized the region, and put at risk everything we had worked so hard to build together. And when you think of the great achievements that you've made, to do it in light of a pretty hostile administration, an administration that was not a believer.
Is he going to announce the invasion of Iran? Actually, I think if anything, this speech is going to increase the likelihood of new nuclear accords between the United States and Iran. Think about it. This speech is basically thumbing the nose at Israel, right? I mean, it's an establishment of not just like normalized relations, but like extreme friendship between the Gulf states and Trump. The Gulf states generally don't like Israel, right? Like whether or not they've signed the Abraham Accords. And Iran doesn't like either of those groups. Iran doesn't like the Gulf states. Iran doesn't like Israel. But by positioning the Gulf states favorably against Israel, it's kind of an indication that Trump is not going to allow Israel to engage in military action against Iran, at least not with his support. And that means that Iran has more of an incentive to buy into a diplomatic solution, right? Actually, like geopolitically, in terms of maneuvering, it's actually pretty smart, I think, in my opinion. And it's kind of crazy that Biden never did anything to this effect, in large part because he's just cucked Israel. Like, that's literally it. Like, we sacrificed so much leverage in the Middle East thanks to our undying fealty to Israel, you know? And because Trump just doesn't fucking care. He has a little more leverage. Now, obviously, he's using that leverage to give hundreds of billions of dollars of weapons to an evil regime. But you know what? We're also evil, so at least it's taking the weapons out of our hands. I don't fucking know.
It makes your achievements even greater. Makes them even greater. You know that. But in a few short months since taking office, we have achieved the swift return of American strength at home and abroad. Now working with the vast majority of people in this region who seek stability and calm, our task is to unify against the few agents of chaos and terror that are left and that are holding hostage the dreams of millions and millions of great people. The biggest and most destructive of these forces is the regime in Iran, which has caused unthinkable suffering in Syria, Lebanon, Gaza, Iraq, Yemen, and beyond. There could be no sharper contrast with the path you have pursued on the Arabian Peninsula than the disaster unfolding right across in the Gulf of Iran. Think of that. They wanted to name it that. I said, they're not going to let them do that. Do you mind if I stop that? I stopped it. We're not going to let that happen.
Bit of a weekend on that statement.
While you have been constructing the world's tallest skyscrapers in Jeddah and Dubai, Tehran's 1979 landmarks are collapsing into rubble and dust. They had it going for a little while under a much different system, but those buildings are largely falling apart, falling down, while you're building some of the world's biggest and most incredible infrastructure projects.
I think Trump felt personally betrayed by the fact that Mike Waltz was found to literally be spying for Israel. Trump's very sensitive to people backstabbing him. Yes. Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, for sure. It definitely doesn't help Israel's case that their main toolbook, or sorry, their main like toolbox for dealing with American politicians has been bullying, blackmail, and threats, you know? Very, very little. Like, what has Israel offered us? Like, think about it, actually. Have you heard in recent memory of a single time Israel's offered America anything, either diplomatically or materially? No, they've taken advantage of the fact that they know we need them as a fulcrum against Iran, and there's a lot of inertia towards supporting them. So they basically haven't done anything to benefit us at all. They can't even do like quid pro quo right. They just fucking, they buy our bombs, I guess. Yeah, they buy our bombs. They also get some weapons for free. So, you know, just ridiculous, really.
Buildings, all sorts of things you're building that nobody's ever even seen before. Iran's decades of neglect and mismanagement have left the country plagued by rolling blackouts lasting for hours a day. All the time you hear about it. While your skill has turned dry deserts into fertile farmland, Iran's leaders have managed to turn green farmland into dry deserts as their corrupt water mafia, it's called it the water mafia, causes droughts and empty riverbeds. They get rich, but they don't let the people have any of it. And then, of course, there's the key difference at the root of it all. While the Arab states have focused on becoming pillars of regional stability and world commerce, Iran's leaders have focused on stealing their people's wealth to fund terror and bloodshed abroad. Most tragic of all, they have dragged down an entire region with them. Countless lives were lost in the Iranian effort to maintain a crumbling regime in Syria. Look at what happened with Syria. In Lebanon, their Hezbollah proxies have pillaged the hopes of a nation whose capital, Beirut, was once called the Paris of the Middle East. Can you imagine? All of this misery and so much more was entirely avoidable, absolutely avoidable, and Mohammed knew that. He knew that. Smart people knew that. If only the Iranian regime had focused on building their nation up instead of tearing the region down. Yet I'm here today not merely to condemn the past chaos of Iran's leaders, but to offer them a new path and a much better path toward a far better and more hopeful future. As I've shown repeatedly, I am willing to end past conflicts and forge new partnerships for a better and more stable world.
We legacy
even
building,
if our
boys.
differences may be very profound, which obviously they are in the case of Iran. I have never believed in having permanent enemies. I am different than a lot of people think. I don't like permanent enemies, but sometimes you need enemies to do the job, and you have to do it right. Enemies get you motivated. In fact, some of the closest friends.
Extremely revealing statement. That's true. He's not wrong.
Of the United States of America are nations we fought wars against in generations past, and now they're our friends and our allies. I want to make a deal with Iran. If I can make a deal with Iran, I'll be very happy. If we're going to make your region and the world a safer place. But if Iran's leadership rejects this olive branch and continues to attack their neighbors, then we will have no choice but to inflict massive maximum pressure, drive Iranian oil exports to zero like I did before. If you know that, they were a virtually bankrupt country because of what I did. They had no money for terror. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah. And take all action required to stop the regime from ever having a nuclear weapon. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. But with that said, Iran can have a much brighter future, but will never allow America and its allies to be threatened with terrorism or nuclear attack. The choice is theirs to make. We really want them to be a successful country. We want them to be a wonderful, safe, great country. But they cannot have a nuclear weapon. This is an offer that will not last forever. The time is...
I think this is something that also speaks to Trump's perceived authenticity, which is this earnest kind of interpersonal strategy for dealing with countries that he doesn't like. He loves saying this. He loves saying, like, you know, you're evil and we won't allow X. You won't get to do X, but you should, in the long run, like, we want you to be good. He says this sometimes. He doesn't say this consistently. I think it lands pretty well because it's kind of like the way you would expect somebody to be aggressive but conciliatory at the same time in an interpersonal relationship, right? Oftentimes, and people make fun of Western leaders for this. When Western leaders denounce countries, they do so in the most like arrogant way imaginable, which is the stern talking down to, like a teacher talking to a kid. What's that quote? When Britain visits us, or sorry, when China visits us, we get hospitals. When Britain visits us, we get lectures, you know? Lectures on how to run our government, how to run our economy, so on and so forth. You talk down to a country sometimes, which Trump, of course, does, but I think that this kind of rhetoric lands relatively well. Certainly it does for me, because I feel like if you could sort of put yourself in a mindset, if there was a country that I thought was doing some really bad shit, would that not be the way you would want to talk about them? Right? Like, Iran does sponsor a lot of really bad stuff, but you would still want to be like, look, I'm not wishing harm to the people of Iran or indefinite harm to the country. I want the country to be successful. I just don't want you to do that fucking thing anymore, essentially. Yeah, you have to give them motivation to change. You have to, like, undercut the narrative that it's an eternal existential war. Which, again, in fairness, with Trump, I don't really think it is, because I don't think he fucking cares that much about, like, greater Western hegemony.
Right now, for them to choose, right now, we don't have a lot of time to wait. Things are happening at a very fast pace. They're happening right here. They're happening at a very fast pace. So they have to make their move right now, one way or the other. Make your move. As I said in my inaugural address, my greatest hope is to be a peacemaker and to be a unifier. I don't like war. We have the greatest military, by the way, in the history of the world. You know, I rebuilt our military in my first 4 years and rebuilt it into the most powerful military there is. And you saw that when I knocked out ISIS in 3 weeks. People said it would take 4 years, 5 years. I did it. We did it in 3 weeks. Just days ago, my administration successfully brokered a historic ceasefire to stop the escalating violence between India and Pakistan. And I used trade to a large extent to do it. I said, fellas, come on, let's make a deal. Let's do some trading. Let's not trade nuclear missiles. Let's trade the things that you make so beautifully.
Well, that would be international trade, which is bad, according to Trump.
They both have very powerful leaders, very strong leaders, good leaders, smart leaders. And it all stopped. Hopefully it'll remain that way, but it all stopped. I was very proud of Marco Rubio and all of the people that worked so hard. Marco, stand up. What a great job you did on that. Thank you, J.D. Vance, Marco. The whole group worked with you, but it was a great job. And I think they're actually getting along. Maybe we can even get them together a little bit, Marco, where they go out and have a nice dinner together. Wouldn't that be nice? But we've come a long way, and it could be, you know, millions of people could have died from that conflict that started off small and was getting bigger and bigger and bigger by the day. I've also been working relentlessly to end the terrible bloodshed between Russia and Ukraine, and very importantly, talks are being held in Turkey later this week, probably on Thursday, and they could produce some pretty good results. Our people are going to be going there. Marco's going to be going there. Others are going to be going, and we'll see if we can get it done. 5,000 people, young people for the most part, soldiers from Ukraine, soldiers from Russia. They're not from here, and they're not from the United States, but they're souls. They're souls. I think usually, mostly, they're young, beautiful souls that left their parents waving goodbye, left their brothers and sisters. Goodbye, I'll see you soon. And they got blown to pieces. 5,000 on average a week are dying. And people are dying elsewhere in the region, but tremendous numbers like we haven't seen since World War II are dying. And I want to stop it. I want to stop it. It's a horrible war. Would have never happened if I were president. That's a war that would have never happened. October 7th would have never happened if I were president, because Iran had no money to pay Hamas or anybody else. They had no money. They were not looking to take care of them. They had to take care of themselves. They had no money. We stopped their oil effectively with the embargoes and sanctions. But let me take this
Getting a little
opportunity
sleepy.
to thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for the constructive role that you've played in facilitating the Ukraine talk. Wield American power if it's necessary to defend the United States or to help defend our allies. Do it, but they were shooting down ships. They were shooting at you. They were shooting at Saudi Arabia. We don't want them shooting at Saudi Arabia if that's okay. So we hit them hard. We got what we came for, and then we got out. Since January 20th, the U.S. military has terminated 83 terrorist leaders operating across Iraq, Syria, and Somalia. Terror are finally beginning to end their long nightmares under the new generation of leaders. In Lebanon, where a friend of mine has just become the ambassador. He's going to be.
That's lovely. Yeah, okay, I think I get the point. I don't know. It's a historic trip. It's going in the history books, folks, unlike Biden's, I suppose. It just seems like as a consequence of being... Watch the end? Yeah, I suppose I should watch the end. As a consequence of being an outsider who's not as concerned with maintaining the thousands of little deals, expectations, and relationships that you kind of inherit as the U.S. president, he's just sort of... I'm not saying what he's doing here is good. Saudi Arabia is an evil fucking regime. It is funny that Israel's getting kind of cucked here. But it is an expression of, I guess, the enormous power the president can have if they just choose to use it.
Be free to realize your highest destinies, honor your proud histories, harness amazing new opportunities, and bring incredible glory to Almighty God. People will come from all over the globe to be inspired by the cities you build, the businesses you create, the technologies you invent, and the beauty, talent, and potential you unleash right in the hearts of your citizens. Each of you will be able to take tremendous pride in the legacy you will leave to your children, because you will have given them the ultimate blessings of prosperity and peace. So important. In the United States, we've launched the golden age of America. It's the golden age. We see it. We see it with all that money, trillions and trillions of dollars pouring in, hundreds of thousands of jobs coming in with it. And with the help of the people of the Middle East, the people in this room, partners throughout the region, the golden age of the Middle East can proceed right alongside of us. We will work together. We will be together. We will succeed together. We will win together. And we will always be friends.
Well, that's sweet.
Thank you. So, Mohammed, I want to thank you again very much for having me. And as a representative of what I think is the greatest nation in the world.
All the right-wingers on Twitter are going to be pissed he's in a room with Muslims. Lol. Actually, no, I don't think that's true at all. I think that apart from the most mentally ill neo-Nazis, the vast majority of racist right-wingers are going to see this as an expression of what Trump has promised to do, which is represent American interests abroad, be a deal maker, be a diplomat, etc., 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 right? They don't really care. A lot of ethno-nationalists are more okay with international relations as long as you have the understanding that they get to stay in their lane. Also, a lot of ethno-nationalists kind of identify with the Saudi royal family anyway, because they're not like the brownest people in the region, and they have a lot of power, which kind of, in their minds, codes them more white, as opposed to being poor, which they see as a signifier of, in a lot of cases, racial impurity. Also, yeah, the Saudi royal family is evil, and they like that, so, you know.
World. We are with you all the way, and you have a tremendous future. Thank you very much. And please pay my respects to your father. Thank you very much.
Fascinating stuff. Also, it's against Israel, so anti-Semitism plays into it as well. Plus that, like, Andrew Tate-esque kind of, like, the real conservatism as being a fundamentalist Muslim or whatever. Do you think Miller's going to be upset about this? No. U.S. State Department said Trump isn't meeting Jelani? Really? No need for direct meeting. Maybe they didn't want to fit it in, since that'd be, like, more travel. All right. It seems they're still lifting sanctions, which is pretty incredible. Please read the details on the deal. They're promising them air and space defense missiles. Well, yeah, sure. Because that's, like, really expensive. Gotta sell them at a high price, right? Do you think he'll ever drop sanctions on Cuba? Probably not. What a fascinating speech.